Good evening, everyone, and it's Lilia from Heal Scotland and Scotland's Wild Medicine. And with me tonight, I have Claire Gallagher from the Scottish Common Party. Now, Claire and I met a few weeks ago, and I was intrigued because, like a lot of people, I'm very fed up with politicians. So I was really intrigued to speak to you and hear what you guys were doing. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and thanks very much for asking me. It was really kind of you, Lilia. It's just nice to meet a different audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as I said, so many people fed up with the old, I think especially after, since 2020, so many people feeling that they've been lied to. You know, there's so many corporate interests that aren't in our favour. So that's why I wanted to get you on to discuss. Well, first of all, how did this come to be for you?
So it's quite a long story, but I think you kind of touched on it there. So I've been involved in politics like all my life. I was brought up in a very much a Labour stronghold. My dad was very, fighting for the working class type of guy. So I joined the Labour Party at the age of 16. Mm-hmm. And I was quite active in it. Yeah, I know, young. But I joined the Labour Party, and then in 2013, I put my hand up at a local meeting and I asked, could we discuss Scottish independence? Because at that point, I wasn't sure about it. I wanted to know more. And after that meeting, they said no. But after the meeting, the kind of chair of the party came over and says to me, don't ever ask that question again. So I left Labour. Aye, that just shows you. Left Labour and embarked on Scottish Labour for Independence, knowing fine well that they would have taken my card off me at the end of it. So I campaigned, I researched, campaigned for yes, ended up joining the SNP after that. And whilst in the SNP, again, it didn't align with me, my values. I just seen it as being a real clique. So, as I say, about 4 years ago, I in fact, more than that now, it'll be in 2020, I left politics altogether. I just felt that none of the main parties, represented who I was or represented my community. So that was me. And then about 6 months ago, I was approached by Cameron, who's the chair of our party, and he was telling me all the community work that he was achieving over in Govan Hill. And it was exactly the same as I've been doing here in Clydebank, just helping my community, trying to get our community empowered a bit more. So he told me about the Scottish Common Party. The two of us sat down, wrote a manifesto, and here we are today. We just launched our manifesto, and 450 people at the manifesto launch. So,
wow, that's incredible. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure this goes out over all the channels. Sometimes Facebook make it a little bit challenging. Here we go. Right, so there's a lot to dig into there. So you've had this interest for quite some time.
Yeah.
And you really, I suppose, you said you thought the SNP was a clique. What do you mean by that?
I think when the referendum was happening, it was one of the most fantastic movements I've ever been involved in, because it wasn't political. It was people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, all political backgrounds, just coming together for a common good. And it was just a fantastic atmosphere, meeting loads and loads of new people. But once that had finished and I actually went into the SNP, there's very much at that point there was a hierarchy. And I didn't like what I seen. There was a lot of, people's grandpa was in the SNP, and they were the MSP, and the MP was the daughter, and it was just like this massive, big, huge family. And because I had come in so late, I never felt that I belonged. And what I've also realised about politics is I am not a person that goes with a party line. I'm very much. It's not that I'm a rebel or anything, but there's just so much that doesn't sit right with my own personal values. And I can't see that. I don't see how people can just go along with what a party says without challenging them. And that's not to be disruptive or anything, honestly. It's just that I think in political parties, your members have to be able to challenge the leadership, you know, because that way then you know where your party's going.
Absolutely. And you don't just because somebody says it. I mean, that's surely got to be part of politics and journalism, you know, the whole thing, isn't it? That we still have the power to actually discuss ideas. I mean, we've got to this whole thing about, oh, you can't say that, you can't say that, and it's like, well, it's not about what you're saying. It's about making sure that the ideas that you are supporting, that you're 100% behind. And
That's
sometimes
correct.
you obviously, like in anything, you know, whether it's in a family, whether it's in a business, you have to kind of go, right, okay, well, let's look at all of it. And then maybe you don't fully agree, but you come to a compromise. But you still have to be able to speak, you know, what you think. And also, you would want your politician to do that, surely.
I think the more I look into it, Lilia, the worse it becomes, because if you look at, I'm going to use Clydebank because that's my town and I'm very proud of my town. But when you look at what we vote for, okay, so when we vote and then you've got somebody down in like Westminster representing you, and you go, so for instance, an MSP voting about a cut to benefits, okay, when a lot of the people in Clydebank benefits, okay, how can that person stand and vote to cut benefits knowing that probably about 40% of his constituents that's going to affect? I don't understand that. That's not what we vote for here. But unfortunately, the politicians that are put forward to the people of Clydebank and right across Scotland do not represent who they are anymore. And that's why all we've got is, you know, these parties, you know, the SNP, Labour, the Tories, and unfortunately now we've got the rise of Reform. But these parties, they no longer represent the people, you know, and you've got MPs that are standing on £74,000 a year. How can they possibly understand what it's like to be standing in the food bank queue? Because they certainly, they'll show up and get their photograph taken and then walk away. But are they understanding the reasons why? And voting for something like a cut to benefits is the reason, or one of the reasons why there's people standing in a food bank queue. So I just think it's unfair to the people that there's nobody actually there representing them.
Well, this is why we have to decentralise
and hence
it all,
why I
isn't it?
decided, correct.
And why we have to get
That's
back
what I believe.
to
That's what I believe.
In our communities, where, because every community is different, you know, has an age different demographic, has you know, different challenges in terms of even things like transport. You know, if you live in Shetland,
Correct.
Scotland particularly is there's so many different needs within different communities, and then the difference between a city, and I mean our cities are nothing like London, and it's just people that are so far detached and removed from the reality of what we are dealing with. And also, I think you were saying there, generational politicians who have just been born and brought up in that and really never have actually seen what's happening on the streets. And, you know, I was just talking to somebody earlier on about food, you know, and the quality of our food. And I'm thinking, they're giving away free prescriptions, right? Which you can argue the rights and wrongs of that. But quality food is too expensive for most people to afford. It's like, what, you know, really, what are we doing here? If people had great quality food, they didn't need so many free prescriptions. You know, it's all arse for elbow, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, going back to basics, and I think, you know, I think me and you have spoken about this before, it's, if you try and eat an organic diet here in the west of Scotland, it's nearly 3 times the amount of what it is just to go into one of your big local supermarkets and buy off the shelf. Why is that? And I think what really irks me the most is, especially when it's Scottish produce, that's the one that really annoys me. You know, this country is so full of absolute, you know, everything that you could possibly need for a healthy diet, we produce here in Scotland. But we're getting charged like over the odds, and I still can't get my head around that. I still can't get my head around that. And I believe, you know, and if we,
yeah, sorry, there's a wee bit of a
No,
delay
you carry
there.
on.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
our
okay,
rivers
carry
are
on.
full of amazing food. Our lochs, our seas, our forests. People come from all over the world to forage
Right.
mushrooms and out. You know, the medicinal mushrooms that we have. We've got the best brain food on the planet, and we're not eating it. It's been either lorried away, a bit like all the money, as my pal says, it gets squished out the communities, as does the great food. And the land that we have up here, because we're relatively unpopulated compared to a lot of places, tons and tons of farmland. It doesn't make sense. We've got venison, rabbits. There's
Yeah.
we have the best quality organic food, and we've also got quite stringent, really, good. Maybe they could be better, but they're pretty good compared to other places. Farming guidelines. So they're not allowed to do a lot of the things to the animals here that they can do in other parts of the country and certainly in other countries. So it makes no sense. But also, what kind of government doesn't want their people to be healthy?
Correct. And they keep going on about obesity, this, and the drug law just now in Scotland is completely outdated. But the point I'm trying to make here is the biggest drug or the biggest threat, I would say, to our population is alcohol. But there's no way in God's earth that our government will, do anything about that because of the amount of money that comes in. I mean, the Scottish Whisky Association, I was asked, actually, this is a funny story, I was asked to speak to the Scottish Whisky Association because I wrote a piece on minimum unit pricing. And I thought the Scottish Whisky Association, I would have went in, and this is me being judgmental, I thought I would have went in, it had been quite a lot of older white men with tartan ties. That's what I assumed that this was. And I walked in and there was over 300 people from some of the biggest conglomerates in the world, not just in Scotland, in the world, sitting. And obviously I had to speak in front of them, but I couldn't believe the wealth and the people in that room.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, the amount of decisions that are made and these people in this room influence that decision. And I just think it's so wrong. It's wrong. Alcohol is destroying our environments everywhere, but nothing's been done. It's like target drugs, target this, target that, big pharma, instead of just going, right, let's go back to basics here. Why are people drinking? What is the causes of the drink? What is going on in our world? Why are people so obese? Because we're selling them this nonsense, all these chemicals. That's why they're so obese. And this is why we're so unhealthy. But nobody wants to say it because they're being paid by lobbyists not to say it. And the sooner people wake up to what's going on in the world, I think the better we've got a chance of standing up to what's going on in the entire world. It's not just in Scotland, it's everywhere.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it has to be, food is consumer driven. And the more we just choose to have a little bit from a farmer's market or from the farmer, then the supermarkets, it'll stop like that. But of course, the problem is the people that own the tobacco companies then moved into food. They know how to make things addictive. They don't care about us. We've been played like a bloody fiddle with tobacco, with alcohol, with sugar. It's, and that's why you're like, if people could just see how much money people are making off of us and the suffering that goes with having addiction in your family and having disease in your family. And we've got burgeoning rates of disease right now, we've had it for a while. That's why I set up Heal Scotland. We're one of the unhealthiest countries. We've got the highest drug deaths in Europe, one of the biggest sickness records, a third of our population unable to work. The government are not going to fix that. Either big pharma or big tech or anybody. We have got to take matters into our own hands. Can you hear me?
That's right. And if we don't stand up together, I just wish people would see. I just wish people could see that coming together, how a powerful force that we are. But folk are so downtrodden just now, they don't realise just what a power we can be. So
tell me about the party and who started it, How can people get involved? What's the sort of way forward? How can we get these changes that we actually need in our communities?
So, yep. So the party was started by our chair, Cameron Butt. Cameron is from Pakistan originally, and he spends a lot of his time in the Govan Hill area in Glasgow, who at the time, about 4 years ago, were facing real unprecedented issues in terms of bins. You know, there was rats in the place, there was potholes, the place, you know, rogue landlords. So Cameron set about, you know, standing up for his community. And like me, he had been political before, but again, he just felt that the bigger parties were doing nothing. It was all talk and no action. So he actually started the Scottish Common Party, and he started looking for people to come along. So my friends, I think you know Paul and Val, they knew of my past political kind of activities, and it was them that got us introduced together. So we sat down, and as I say, within hours, I kind of knew. I did say to myself, I'm never getting involved in politics again. It's just all lies and nonsense. But when I met with Cameron, I actually believed in him, and I believed what he was saying, which was very, very refreshing, actually. So as I say, I took his manifesto, I wrote what was in my heart and my soul, and I put it into that manifesto, what I believed that the people of Clydebank and other places, Possil, Drumchapel, anywhere else that I've worked, needed. And he took that, read it, and we okayed it. And so we began on our journey. So we've got a website up and running. We are out campaigning just now. Myself and Cameron will be standing for the next elections in May. To join the party, we've kept it at £2 for the year for this year. It's just to bring people who normally think that they don't belong in politics. Even my friends, Lilia, they'll say, you know, I says, you come to the manifesto lunch. No, I'm not into politics. And I'm trying to say to them, forget the word politics. This is about leaving your children into it.
Absolutely.
I'm not into politics. And it's like, okay, are you happy that you're going to... Are you happy when you go for your weekly shop and it's like £50 more than it was this time 3 years ago? No, I'm not happy about that. Well, that's what we're here for. This is what we want to challenge. And when you break it down into exactly what it is that we want to do, people go, of course I want. Yes, of course I want free school meals. Of course I want more nursery places. And you're going, that's politics. You know, I want my mum to be looked after in her old age. Okay, so that's what we want to do as well. So it's that breaking it down to simple language to say, forget all the jargon that you're used to with these politicians. This is real, and it's real people. And we just want as many real people, common people like me, to come on board and show the establishment that we're not going to sit down and be trodden on anymore, that we're going to stand up for our rights as citizens of this country. And we decide what's happening in our country, not them.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's who's making the decisions and why are they making them? I can't believe anybody still trusts them after what's gone on over the last few years. And I have to say, I put my hands up as somebody who went, I'm not interested in politics, because at one stage I assumed that the people running the country were well educated and far better equipped to do it than me, and that they genuinely cared about the people. So I thought, well, that's fine, you do your job and I'll do mine. But now you realise, oh, no. You take your eye off the ball, this is where you end up. Transfer of wealth and human history has just occurred over the last few years. And people are getting poorer and poorer and poorer. It's just, it has to change. And who's going to change it? We're going to sit around and complain, blame and shame. No, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So we actually have to get involved, whether we like it or not. So somebody can join for £2 for the year, and what does that mean?
That's exactly it. And I think it is.
Sorry, I'm saying somebody can join.
It just means that they become part of the email list. So we'll tell them where we'll be
Sorry, you're frozen. I don't know whether it's my internet or yours.
Okay, probably mine, I think.
Sorry, I've lost you there.
If somebody joins for £2, it just means Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to try and. Can you hear me? The internet dropped out there. Are you there? Can you hear? Yeah, I think we're back.
Yep, I'm here. Yep, I'm here. Good.
Aye, sorry, there was a dropout there for some reason.
I can definitely see you. Can you see me okay?
Yes, yeah. Okay, so how can people get involved? This isn't. Can you hear me? No? I can see and hear you. Can you hear me? No?
I can hear you. Yep, I can hear you. Yep.
How's that? How's that? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. That's better.
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So sorry, people at home. So, like, tell us how people can get involved and what can they do.
If you join for it's the £2, you go into our website, Scottish Common Party. It's a 3-stage process. Your name, your email address, and then you pay your £2. And then we just start to email you when we start our campaigns. Our next big event is going to be in Clybank at the end of January. And that is just to launch the party in Clybank in the area that I'm standing. So anybody that's a member can come along to that event and hear and see what we're all about and meet other members that are there. So the last event, as I say, had 450 people in Shawlands, and it was just even like a manifesto launch, because they're usually quite boring. It was a complete party atmosphere. We had singing, we had dancing, we had everything. It was just fantastic. And it was people, which was beautiful, and amount at the different ages, different cultures. It was just absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant, and it just felt a right representation of the communities nowadays. So I was really, really proud.
Yeah, and I think it should be exciting for change, shouldn't it? Because we're all fed up. We've complained enough. It's like, right, get off our butts and let's be part of it. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Get involved. I think that it's one of the law of unintended consequences with democracy, is that you just think, oh, somebody else will do it. And then, and then you realise somebody else is no doing it. So we have to get much more involved and make sure that people are held accountable. And, I've been spending a bit of time in Clydebank because I've been up at Quarriers, been at April's place, obviously Michelle's place, the Reiki Love Club. And, there's lots of really cool stuff going on there. It's actually a really nice place.
Yeah.
So it's good to get, like Cormac Russell says, what's strong in your community? And there's lots of strong things going on in the community. And that's where we need to focus and support the people that are on it and doing great things and inspire other people to get involved. Can you hear me?
This is it. That you're absolutely right. As I say, Clydebank's got a really proud past, Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that Clydebank's got a really proud past. It was full of, we shipbuilding and singers and And it's still got that sense of community here. But as you say, there's so many individual community groups that, you know, we've got, you know, the Golden Friendships, you've got Alternatives, you've got the Why Sort It, all these massive Flourishing Faithfully, the White Crook Social Group, all these different communities. And you're just thinking, can you imagine that what work could be done with them if the money was devolved more to them? You know, into all these different charities, the world would be a different place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is all about the funneling of the money. Where's it all going? and also supporting shopping local, shopping in your own area. And, you know, because we are the ones that will, if we consume in our own area, that's where we keep the wealth within the community. It circles round, doesn't it? Now, so you've just opened a place in...
it certainly does. It boosts your economy.
You've just opened a place in Clydebank.
Yeah, we're just waiting just now. It's just got a couple of more health and safety checks to be completed. Right. And we will have that open in the new year.
And what will happen there? What happens there?
So that'll be a wee hub. That's where everybody can come and meet, right in the centre of Clydebank. But we're not just having it as a party base. We are going to have it as a surgery. So anybody that's got any issues in relation to their housing, anything at all, we want to be there to help the community solve some problems. And we've got a vast team there from all different backgrounds. You know, we've got some social workers, we've got some nurses, we've got people that used to work in, have retired now for like the benefits system, but quite a lot of people. So we'll just be holding daily surgeries there for the people of Clydebank to come in. If they've got any issues, then we will try and solve it for them.
Brilliant. Because I think that's the thing, isn't it? Being able to see somebody face to face in this day of AI and talking to people in a different continent and it's so frustrating that you never feel that you're being heard. It's just actually can give you a heart attack even thinking about it. So it's really nice that people can come in and chat. And, I think as well, we're looking at a similar thing for health up at Quarriers, where people can come and brainstorm and share ideas and what worked for you and what didn't work for you. We should be sharing. You know, community is immunity. Strong communities of people that look after each other are healthier. We know that.
Yeah, they definitely are, and I think you know my friend Paul Lily. I think you know Paul.
Yes,
And I didn't really know an awful lot about like kind of health and well-being and a more holistic approach until I started to do his programme, and then I realised the wealth that we've got again. See, like getting things that are in his programme, like getting out into nature. I would never have, although you know it, you don't know it. It's like, you know, we're surrounded by things to help us, and we just don't realise it. And you're absolutely right. It's the more that you can do as people meeting each other and coming together as one, the more successful you are. Because if you're in your house, you can't form an opinion on anything. Whereas if you're in with your friends or in with groups, you can form opinions. And that's what the establishment's worried about. They would rather have us, you know, getting fed through a computer or scrolling through TikTok, through Instagram, all that nonsense, than me and you meeting in a park and saying, you know what, I don't like what the government... So as I say, the more we can get out into our community and try and help our community and do stuff for other people, I think the more successful we'll be.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that I feel is really important, having been brought up in a small community, is knowing people. Because if I know you, if I know your kids, I know your mum, you know, you care more. You care more about people. You're like, oh, right, okay, that's so-and-so's granddaughter. I used to know their, you know, there's just a feeling that it's just like, right, okay, we'll look after each other. Whereas when it's strangers, it's much easier just to ignore that. And I think the sharing of ideas is key. And I run retreats for the vaccine injured, and one of the things that they find most powerful about the retreats is getting together and being able to talk about what's happened, and they all sharing the same, the same kind of experiences where other people just don't know, looking in, So yeah,
Mhm.
it's so obvious actually what needs to be done. Like, we, the people in our communities, all pull together. Let's start growing our own food, having these cafes, looking after each other, having some fun instead of all this,
Yeah, definitely.
negative stuff that really has a very detrimental effect in the body. So tell me what he's going to do about food.
So what we're going to do about food? So our manifesto states quite clearly that we would have a better connection with the farming community.
Uh-huh.
I can't believe we're paying farmers not to produce,
Oh my God.
which I found absolutely fascinating. So yeah, we would. It's like, you kidding me on? I just look about, and it's the amount of allotments that are run about Clybank just now. I'm watching people producing their own produce. If we can do that in a far larger scale, it would. I just think our kids, I think everybody, the elderly, everybody would feel so much better. If we were eating our own produce, and as you say, then jobs are created. Our work, we would create our own workforce through that.
Communities
I think we
created.
need to go back to, when you look at I hear my granny who came over from Ireland. Communities are created, correct? Communities created. But my granny, she used to make her own butter, her own cheese when she came over from Ireland, her own bread. She made soup, she made cakes, but she made it all for really good ingredients. That's what they produced, their own ingredients. It was like cow, the cows and were producing the milk, and then you had you had the chickens, buckets, and yet her food was the most nourishing, beautiful food that there is. And I would love to. I would love for Scotland to go back to that, instead
We need
of that,
to.
eating all the poisonous nonsense that we're getting shipped and told that we need.
And the quality, if you've got good quality butter, you need like about a quarter of it is what you would need of other crappy stuff. And our bid for things to be cheaper and to go further, to make more money, we've just totally lost the plot and lost our sense of pride at what we're giving our people to eat. It just drives me insane. And then, of course, you feel better. If you want a strong economy, you need healthy people. And we need to work. We need to get people having a strong purpose, whatever that work would look like. It doesn't need to be sitting in an office or a call center. Just being an active part of the community where you can actually feel that you've got a worth and a value.
I think that's where a lot of the mental health problems are coming from now, Lilia, is that people don't feel their worth. They are just a number. I managed drug and alcohol. Some of the charities that I worked for were starting to go that way, and that's not why they were started. They were started to help people. And yet I looked at the staff and their conditions that they were working in, and the pay that they were receiving, and if they took time off sick, they were made to feel guilty. And that's not that was charities that were supposed to have started off to help people, and yet they were treating their staff like robots.
And burgeoning overheads.
So, and that's not just in that sector; that goes on every sector.
Yeah,
well, they were brilliant. They treated their staff. They treated them so well.
And I mean, if people are
you go to work
happy,
to feel you part of.
Yeah, if people are happy, they're going to be far more productive. And it should be a pleasure to be of service instead of a drag. But if you've got half your population are physically exhausted, then how can you possibly? None of us want to work when we're exhausted. None of us want to face the public and be pleasant and be kind and all that when we're tired. And that's what we're expecting people to do. We're malnourished, we're stressed, we're paying ridiculous money for everything, energy, don't get me started. And then you're like, get out there and do more. And it's just like, wait a minute here. No, 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 no. Things have got to change quite dramatically. And as I say, it's going to be driven by us. It's got to be driven by us because nobody's coming to fix it for us. Lovely as that would be, nobody's coming and nobody can fix our health apart from us. So that's why I was really interested to get you on here to have a chat to see what we can actually do as communities. Can we rally the troops, get people involved and be part of the change if you're well enough to be part? I think it's exciting times. It can be a bit overwhelming at times, and starting a new party definitely can be a challenge because you got all the, oh, you'll never do this. Have you heard that yet? Have people said to you, you'll never do this, you'll never do... I've lost you again there.
Yeah, like, you'll never change it, Hen. It is what it is. And I think, well, if, when I think of people like, what was his name? Arthur Scargill. And I thought, imagine he had just went, aye, okay, you're right. I won't change anything. If people don't stand up and be counted, the people who are standing on top of us and will continue to do so. But if we just stand up together and say enough's enough, enough is enough, I think we can shake it. I really believe that we can shape this. But are people courageous enough to stand up and say, right, we're not standing by for this anymore. You no longer represent what we want in the world. You no longer represent us. And it's about just having that open, honest and transparent politics. If I hate that word, even politics, it's just about a movement of people coming together just to say, we're not doing this anymore.
Absolutely. I 100% am with you. I totally believe we can do it if we can just rally. I believe we're living in a time where consciousness is shifting, where that idea, and especially in Scotland, where I suppose we've just given all our power away to the government, and now we're like that, oh, look what these clowns are doing. It is you can actually, if you said here, make as big a mess of it as you possibly can, they could not have done a better job of it. So it's time. It's absolutely time. Well, listen, thank you so much for having the courage. People say that to me, you'll never heal Scotland. You'll never see it in your lifetime. And I'm like that, watch this space. Because it's all about communities, and if you just get enough people wanting it, job's done.
That's it.
So listen, I'm sorry about the internet connection. There's been a bit of a delay. I don't know whether I'm at my friend's house.
Do you know what, Lilia? When I get into power, because it will happen, you can be my health minister.
Oh dear, that would be funny, wouldn't it? Can you imagine? I'll hold you to that.
Back. Are you there?
Yeah, sorry, it keeps dropping out. Listen, thank you. Thank you for your courage and your passion, and I wish you all the best. And I'm sorry about this delay in the internet, but we'll talk again nearer the time.
Definitely. I would love to come back, definitely, and tell you a bit more about me as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to get that history because it's really important. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you so much.
Bye
Thank you. Bye.